Hello and welcome to the Systems LLC Video Interview Series. I'm here today joined by the Vice President of National Accounts and Marketing, Jeff Schulze. Jeff, how are you doing today?
Very good, thanks.
And we're going to be talking about what you see here, the CentraAir dock leveler. First off, what makes the CentraAir leveler unique?
So the biggest thing about the CentraAir leveler that you notice when you first walk up is the size of the bellows or the lifting mechanism that's underneath the leveler. The CentraAir leveler actually uses high pressure, low volume of air opposed to a standard air style leveler that you're used to that uses large volume of air at low pressure. So you see large bellows underneath the leveler, and you can see here with the CentraAir leveler, just a small little air bladder that raises the unit up, makes it easy to clean, and that's probably the biggest difference. You know that, and then like I mentioned, the fact that it runs off of compressed air. So it can run off of an air compressor in your facility, or it can run off an air compressor that we provide, opposed to a standard air style leveler that runs off of basically, a blower motor the size like a shop vac motor. So this is actually using compressed, high pressure compressed air.
And talk about the structural components. I know we have our staple of things, the four-sided box, the structural C-channel. Is there anything else you want to mention about that?
I think just that we've, over the years, have maintained the structural integrity of the dock leveler. Like you mentioned, the four-sided box construction, structural C-channels, structural I-beams. We always tell everyone that when you're driving home at night, you look at the bridges and the overpasses that you drive by and everything, and you see all structural steel. Gives us better weld penetration from the actual structure of the leveler to the deck plate itself. So that stronger weld makes for a longer lasting leveler, and a leveler that's going to last longer is going to make you more money and make you more profitable in the long run.
And when you talk about the CA as opposed to a traditional airbag style leveler, what are some things you focus on when trying to sell the CA over an airbag leveler?
The biggest thing with the CA is probably the fact that there's no electricity in the pit. So we can actually supply the CentraAir leveler here without any electricity at all in the dock pit. So from a washdown standpoint, from the standpoint of being able to go into a building that has all mechanical dock equipment and add power dock equipment to it without having to worry about electrical in the pits and pumps and motors in the pits and blowers in the pits. We can do all that with just running off of compressed air that's either already available at the building or compressed air that we provide. So that's the first thing. The next thing is that the fact that the bladder itself takes up such a small footprint underneath the leveler. So for cleaning underneath the pit, for food applications, for places for animals to build a home or for debris to collect, the leveler is very clean. So there's not a lot going on underneath that pit. So those are the biggest selling points there. And then the ability to take a facility with 36 dock positions and run that off of one 60-gallon air compressor. So from an electrical standpoint, there's no electrical footprint to this equipment at all. So it's kind of an interesting sales feature. And then I always tell everyone, I always say, in the days that we live in right now, where people are going through a building and they're constantly trying to take electrical usage out of a building, going in to a facility that has all mechanical dock equipment and trying to put in powered equipment really changes the electrical footprint of the building. We can go in, we can put in all standard push-button activated operation CA levelers and not really change the electrical footprint of the building at all. We're just adding one small air compressor with a 60-gallon tank to run those positions. And
so, you mentioned this bellow. From a durability standpoint, that has to be much better than an airbag, correct?
Yeah, it's basically a tire. So it's a steel belted tire, the same thickness as the tire on your car. I know there's videos online that you can watch where we actually stick a screwdriver in it, poke a hole in it, and it still operates just like normal. From a durability standpoint, when you have things like chunks of pallets and freight dunnage and things like that fall into a pit, this thing's designed to last and to take it. It has a lifting capacity of about 8,000 pounds, and in our worst nightmare, we're not lifting even close to that from a dock loader standpoint. We're probably lifting closer to maybe 1,200 pounds in that area when it's actually lifting the leveler up.
And you touched on installation. I know some people might be maybe thrown off by using compressed air at a dock. Can you touch on, what's the difference between installing a CA and installing a mechanical or a hydraulic I guess in the terms of time spent?
There's probably from the standpoint of just basic mechanical install, there's no difference at all. I mean, we're putting a leveler in the same size pit that we would if it was a mechanical or a hydraulic leveler. The difference would be that you have to run an air line from inside the building to the bellows to make the bellows operate. Now we do that with a UV protected, it's a black plastic air line that runs through a purged hole in the wall down the front of the dock. There's probably an extra, I would say probably an extra hour's worth of installation that takes place between a standard mechanical installation of a leveler and then adding the CA component to it. But what we are doing is we're removing the whole electrical component. So where people might think, well, okay, well, it's an extra hour of mechanical installation from my dock installer, but I don't have to bring an electrician out at all.
Yeah.
So we lose that. And then also the price of bringing a journeyman or a master electrician out is substantial also, just to do that little bit of work. And then their work also includes, electrical connections, wiring, running conduit, having someone lift the leveler up so they can crawl underneath it to put to make the electrical connections. We can do that all in one trip, so the installer can basically show up and leave with the leveler running, all on the same trip. So from that standpoint, just a big savings, easier to use, easier to install, longer life, just a great piece of equipment.
Yeah, you're getting the same structural superiority that you would get with a hydraulic leveler, same push button activation, without having electricity in the pit, and that truly is something special.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to touch on?
Just the only other thing, when you look at this unit here, you see the combination control panel. We can still do things with the CA that we can do with other powered dock levelers, which is interlock to a truck restraint like the Unilock we have right here, interlock to LiftMaster operator, a DDO operator from LiftMaster, specialty lighting, air inflatable shelters, all kinds of stuff. We can do all that, those same electrical components, as well as have this same CA leveler work with iDock and work with MyQ Dock Management to be able to monitor the use of all this equipment from the cloud also.
Perfect. Well, I thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
For any more information, you can visit www.loadingdocksystems.com. Take a look at all of our brands and some of our products just on that page itself. And again, look for us on LinkedIn and Facebook. And thanks again for your time.
Thanks.
And be sure to check out the CA online today.
Thanks.
Thank you.